Welcome to the Luton Ladies Lowdown. Today is a very, very special episode. I'm joined by both managers of the Luton Ladies team, Fadi Mazloom and Myles Maddox. How you doing today, guys?
Yeah, all good. All good. Early. Well, good.
No, all good, man. All good. Grateful. A little bit on a rest. So early bird gets the word. Early bird gets the worm, fan. You know?
See, you can't even talk. That's how early it is.
I'm tired. Tired. I hear that.
Let's just say this is the first pod I've done where I've got to have a coffee. So, yeah, it's a nice early one. But let's take a look back at the winning season, the cup victory, and all of the other achievements from the Luton Ladies this season. Okay, football. So, let's talk about the season as well as the League Cup win. So, obviously, first off, congratulations, winning the league. This was an absolutely phenomenal league. Unbeaten at home, beating Royston twice, Stevenage, 3 wins, 1 loss. And here's a little fun fact for you. The last game of the last 2 seasons, we've won 6-1. Don't know if you guys knew that. So, Myles, why don't you talk to us about the season? How did it go from your side?
It was a season that had a lot of expectation for us, walking into it. Back end of last season, a lot happened without that season, and it was a bit like, getting towards the end of the season, reassessing as a squad. Coming into the season, we've always known the target and what we wanted to achieve, and it was like how we go out and go get it. Start of the season with a loss from Royston, and it kind of, I don't want to say humbled us, but it made us start on the back foot a little bit more and kind of have to realise, okay, now we have no room for error. And, each week, we were playing FA Cup games in between the start of the season and January. But, in that time, Royston started to pull away with the amount of games they were playing, and they kept picking up points and picking up points and picking up points. So the pressure, I feel like, mounted on us a little bit more, that room of they weren't slipping up, they weren't making any errors. We had to make sure that we didn't do the same, but you're still chasing and you're always, 3 points never really felt like 3 points because they were playing the same week, so they were earning 3 points. So the gap or the number of points stayed the same each week. And then, going to the latter half of the season when we kind of got wording of how our season will finish in terms of the running of the midweek games and all that kind of things combined, it was a little bit like, okay, now the pressure's really on. But I credit the coaches, I credit the board, and I credit the players. Everyone kind of said, okay, we're not going to rush this. We're not going to try and think 4 steps ahead. We're going to take each game at a time. We'll manage it however we manage it, and we'll pick up points from there. So, in terms of the season, it's been a good season. Really, really happy with the outcome. To only have lost 2 games in the season is a great feat. The goals we conceded, 14. It's amazing, in 22 league games, it's very difficult to keep that. I think if you look at our record for the last 2 seasons, but prior to this season, we've always had a good defensive record. I think it was 21 goals in 22 games 2 years ago, 19 goals in 22 games last season. But to drop from 19 to 14, I know that only sounds like 5 goals, but that's really hard to do. So, credit to our goalkeeping team, our goalkeeper, our goalkeepers, our defensive team and our defensive coach. So we kind of planned it out really, really well. And then, we got the reward and got the big boy here sitting right next to me. Make sure
That's mine from next week, right?
No, I say that. Got the big boy here next to us and really, really happy with the outcome.
Yeah, no, I just second everything that Myles has said. It's a great feat, and it's nice to know that we have made our record better as we've gone on from each season as well. So it looks like we're doing the improvements, and yeah, credit to everyone that's involved, because it's not just me and Myles that is running everything, right? We've got a backroom team that we look after, and then the backroom team obviously look after the players, and then the board look after us, and it's like, so everyone's worked together, and it's also credit to you guys as well. You guys have given us the platform to keep pushing as well, So yeah, appreciate everything.
Of course. Big shout out to Owen as well from the social media team. He's one of 2 people that's been to every single game this season. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Obviously, there were some notable games in there. As I briefly mentioned, obviously Royston were at the start of this season absolutely incredible. All credit to them. Obviously, they've got some incredible players there. How, if anything, how did kind of their performance drive you in terms of kind of your decisions of what you were doing with the team, Fadi?
Uh, Look, for us, it was a little bit difficult starting the season. When we started the season, unfortunately, we had quite a few players away. Um, Obviously, not being a full-time team, we have teachers in the squad. Obviously, August is a massive holiday season. So yeah, we started the season not at full strength. And then look, I'm not one to blame referees, but that game, uh,
Jeez, man, I
I've got a lot of footage which could just go, yeah, this referee was shocking, right? But look, it is what it is. We dealt with it the best way we could. But what I believe, and I've had this conversation with Miles before, I really believe that that loss put a fire in everyone's belly, because it was a case of, right now, there's no way we're losing this or we're messing this up, right? So every game was just given 110%, and we made sure that we just took it game by game. And that was the belief every week. So this week, this is what we're working on for this game. This week, this is what we're doing for this game. So, and because of that fire in the belly, every game the girls just went out there and just literally gave 110%, and that proved dividends in its end, right? Um, Coming out as double champions, going back up to the National League after 6 years in this league. Me and Miles doing it in the first time in our first full season. There's a lot of positives that we can take from this season, and I think, like we were saying earlier, it is credit to everyone that's been here with us. So yeah, look, the first game, Royston, it was the fire to fuel us to go on to win the league.
We've also got to talk, I think this is a good one as well, about Stevenage, because you could, in theory, argue they are our closest rivals. Obviously, there's a lot of connection between the team. Obviously, yourself, Addy, previously working there. Miles, how were those games? Were they fiery?
I give credit to Stevenage. You know, they are a very difficult team to break down. One thing that I will say about our season, which we've always realised, and we've recognised it throughout the season, actually, should I say, is teams defended really, really well against us, and it really made us as coaches and players have to figure out how do we break teams down when they sit in a low block position, and how can we, you know, get the best out of our squad in order to get the results we wanted to. And you know, I'm no feat of hiding it and saying, you know, we worked on a few good weeks, maybe I think even a month or so, literally just figuring out how we focus on breaking the low block down, because we've seen it throughout the season. So, you know, the first game we played Stevenage, I thought it was a really tight game. From our perspective, we still hadn't been or haven't got our full squad back. We were still kind of battling it for the first 4 games of the season, but managed to get the win in that first one. Then we got into the FA Cup game and it was a 1-1, and that was a very, very tight affair between the two teams. To then go to, I think, what was it 14-13, 14-15, I can't remember what it was.
15,
So high.
15.
Yeah, 14-15 on penalties, and to go round the team twice, or to some of the players twice. It was kind of like, okay, neck and neck. Then we play them again in the league, and they got the better of us in a 1-0 win, despite I feel like we had the better of the opportunities, being the better of the two teams. And then going into the League Cup, where we'll get into the League Cup, but you know, we managed to get the win. So I think credit to Stevenage. Stevenage are a very difficult team, and the management that were there or that is there that have worked really, really hard with their squad to make it a tough team to break down. You know, you're looking at the league; they're the second best defensive team in the league. And if you look at their numbers from last year to this year, they've improved significantly. So very tough affairs in terms of the whole managing about it and the atmosphere. Listen, we want big games. Big games require big players, and you know, we've never hidden from that. We're never going to hide from that. You know, we want to have the big games. We relish the big games, and it draws out the best in our players. Yeah, sometimes they manage to get the better of us in these games, but it just allows us to reflect and move forward. So, did we focus on them way too much? No, we addressed it. We didn't do anything that we wouldn't normally do for every other team. We prepared well, but we feel like we prepared well for every team. And and so we just managed it how we normally manage it. But there is that little added atmosphere of we don't want to lose to Stevenage, and that is what we want. We want that mentality. They're obviously a team that have been in the top four for the last 2-3 seasons. They've always shown that they're competing for the league, even when they were being managed by Fadi. But they're always a team that competes for the league and is always going to finish up there. So, we would be naive to walk into that game thinking they're going to be like anybody else. It is a big game, but we still prepare. We didn't change anything or do anything special. We made sure that we prepare the way that we did. And ultimately, I wish I had the trophy again, but it's just too far.
Obviously, go on, Fadi, please.
Nah, listen, I've not really got much to say. The situation and the reason why I'm not there no more is it is what it is. I'm happy where I am, and I go into every game now with the same mentality that I don't care who we're playing, I don't care who it is, I'm there to win, right? And that's not just my mentality. That's Myles's. That's the coaching. That's the players. We're there to get either 3 points or a trophy if it's a cup final, whatever it is. Yeah. There was only one slight incentive that was in there, and it is that because these games are so tight, we know that they're tight because of the way that they play and the way that we play, etc. That was the added incentive from it. So it was like, okay, how do we figure out to break them down, especially after just playing them and losing 1-0 through, I'll be honest, it was one mistake, counter-attack, boom, goal. Personally, it was probably a 0-0 game, would have been more fair. But yeah, so and that's what we did. We sat the same way that we do every team. We go, right, this is how they play. How do we break them down? What are we going to do? And we figured it out. We made a perfect plan. And for me, tactically, we outsmarted them and got the win.
And obviously, testament to Stevenage. It was up until that last game they were going to finish second, but Royston managed to finally beat them to second. So, I mean, yeah, they're two very. I believe this is correct. Please
did
fact
they?
check me.
I'm pretty sure Stevenage ended up finishing second, right?
Fact check me live.
Yeah, Stevenage.
Yeah. Stevenage just finished second.
Right.
Yeah, by 2 points.
In that case, testament to Stevenage on just how good they were.
Yeah.
And also Royston, obviously. They had some incredible players. They're all the teams in the league. You got to kind of give them all a bit of props. I don't think anyone just kind of gave up in this league. So, yeah. Which was your favourite away game from the season? Fadi, let's start with you.
Away game. I'm going to say Cambridge City, right? And there's a reason why, right? I was there for a little while, and never got to play at the stadium. So obviously we're not going to get to play there again because they're going to be tier 6 now. So it's nice just to tick that off the bucket list, so to speak. Yeah, that's probably my favourite away day.
And what a beautiful stadium it was. It was an absolutely incredible
really
stadium.
Nice, really nice.
Beautiful day. Like, absolutely perfect, I'd say. Yeah. Myles, how about you?
This is tough. Away day. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I think there's. I love different away games for different reasons. Right? I'm just gonna give three things to people in mind. Needham. I've been at Needham when we play Needham away. The result that we've got, I think we've gone there twice in the last 2 years and got 5 goals there. So I feel like the performance is always there. Haringey, I love the atmosphere. They always bring an atmosphere, and it's sometimes a bit dramatic, but you listen, you take it, you enjoy it while it's in the moment. And I'm going to be very controversial. This is upon reflection. So if you have asked me in the season, I probably would have given this, but I'm going to say Royston, and I'm going to say Royston simply because I think it set the tone for my mentality for the rest of the season, which was, okay, if this is how the season went off with everything that played out, then if this is the mentality, we're taking no prisoners, we're going for everything, and I want to beat every single team because there was unfairness and whatever, but I just wanted to, my mentality from that day switched from we should win the league to no, we're going to win the league, we're going to have to win the league and we're going to take it by storm. So I'm gonna tip Royston just because of what it done for me, but I love Haringey's away day. I think the atmosphere is amazing.
Nice. As a fan, I've got to say mine was probably Wroxham. Really loved it up there. Never been
that
to
drive.
Abroad. The drive was a long drive, but it's beautiful. I've never been up that far to the Norfolk Broads, and again, it was another beautiful day. Like, it's such a nice place to play football. I know the pitch was all over the place, but the actual just surrounding area, we went up in there. We had a couple of beers, whatnot. It was great fun. Really enjoyed that one. So
Yeah, we're on the coach and back off the coach, so you're all right. You get to drop off, but yeah, that's a long drive, man.
yeah,
We've got to do it again next season with Norwich, right?
I think Norwich will be fine. Norwich is a little bit closer, just.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
Right, now let's talk about the cups. So we'll start with the FA Cup run. We've got to, I think, talk about the Stevenage penalty game. That was absolutely, I've never seen anything like it in football for a while. But yeah, how was the FA Cup run for you guys? Obviously, we got through to the third round
Yep.
this
Yeah.
season. Yeah, so Myles.
The third round is what we wanted to achieve. Funny enough, that with our board. I'm going to shout them out: Nikki, Mark, Dave, Darren, Paul. Yeah, see, I have to remember that. Can't get anything wrong. I sat with our board and we outlined some of our targets for the season. One of our targets was we wanted to achieve the third round. The FA Cup in itself, I actually thought it was previous year we reached the fourth round, and I actually thought this year was much more difficult in some of the games that we played than what we did in the previous rounds. One of the biggest games, we'll get Stevens, but one of the biggest games that stuck out for me was Hutton away. And going 2-0 down in the space of 10-15 minutes after going, I think it was like 7 games without conceding the goal, 6-7 games without conceding the goal. We went 2-0 down within 7 minutes, and it kind of just shocked us, like, whoa, what's going on here? And then to see the bounce back ability that we had in that to go and win the game. And then we talk about the Stevenage game. As I said, it was tough. I have a personal accomplishment or proud or something I'm really proud about. That was the first game that Leah returned from a serious injury, so it was good to see her back onto the pitch there. And then going into the penalties, it just went on and on and on. And I went from, I think the emotions in it was just crazy. It was like, all right, come on, here we go. First 5 is done, and then it was like, got to like the 10th, I was like, can this just end? And it went back and I was like, all my days. And then Huds pulled off the save, and I thought, what, we're relieved because it meant we reached our target. And then going all the way to Portsmouth. Listen, Portsmouth, credit to them, they got the promotion the season before into the Championship. They've just gone to full time. It was always going to be a difficult uphill battle. We're quite far away from home, having to figure out how we were going to play it. You could see that they were levels above us, and that's not a shame to have. That's not a shame for us to be in. It's a journey that we're on. We're trying to figure out and hoping one day that we get there. But you can see that there are levels above us. But the FA Cup is a special cup, as I've said before, and to see what it has done for us was great. Last season playing Brighton at Barton, this season playing Portsmouth away. Seems that we're always picking up some of the best of the 24 in the country in the last 2 years. So real experiences for the ladies to see, real experiences for Fadi and I to really see, what the levels of coaching looks like, how we can adapt ourselves. We'll pick up points of where we thought they've done something really, really well, and can we put that into our game? So there's always learning curves, but the FA Cup is special, man, and to get to the 4th and 3rd round, we're really, really happy.
Yeah, look, just seconding what Mark said, but the 3rd round was always our target. Obviously, there's money implications that are behind it, and it's a case of what can we do with that. Well, obviously, we've done really well last year, and it's obviously about building off that again. And then, obviously, having 2 years of good FA Cup behind you, it allows you to then progress as a club and as a staff and as players, right? So our plan was always that. Next year, I'll be honest with you, we haven't sat down and looked at it and where we're going to try and look to get. But again, obviously, FA Cup is special. So we do put effort into it. We do focus on it, and we do try and propel ourselves into the right direction. So yeah.
Am I right in thinking that we get seeded 1 round later this season?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start Premier League 2.
Okay. So potentially even more exciting opportunities next season.
Yeah.
I got to say, one of the standout moments from the Stevenage game in the FA Cup was when their keeper came over to Huds and was like, and then Huds got the save and then got the goal straight after. 10 out of 10 for Huds for that one.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know their keeper did that. Did you know that, Myles?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I heard rumblings. I didn't see it myself, but I heard about it being spoke about afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were right behind the goal, so
Oh, really?
it was incredible.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Next, we've got to talk about the County Cup. So obviously, we got through the semi-final in this. Oh no, sorry, we got to the final. What am I talking about? We got to the final in this one, and we unfortunately lost to Real Bedford at Kenny. But Fadi, can you walk us through the County Cup?
Look, the County Cup is a weird one, right? Because there's such a fluctuation of different teams, and there's teams that are in tier 6 or struggling in tier 5, and then there's teams like Real Bedford, and let's put us in that bracket as well, right? Now, what's good about the County Cup is good for Bedfordshire, right? And it's good for the county, and it's good for like allowing it to grow, right? But the gulf of where Real Bedford are to everyone else is crazy, right? Real Bedford have got a massive cash injection. They've got players from tier 3 that have dropped down to tier 4, and it's difficult to keep up with them, right? And that's the truth behind it. But on the day, it's the Kenny, it's the cup final, and anything can happen, right? They might decide that they didn't want to show up, but unfortunately, that's not the way that they play, and they did show up, right? They're a great team. They've got a good management structure, they've got a good board structure, and they've got great players, right? So it's great that we got to the final. Again, that was also our goal. It wasn't a case of winning it because we knew who was in it, but we wanted to get to the final. We've done that, and it's credit to them. Like it's a humbling. It's a fact to show us. Look, they're tier 3. That's where we need to get to. These are the quality type of players that they have, and what we need to do to get there. We looked at a lot of things, and we took a lot of positives from the actual game instead of going, "Oh, we lost 5-0, we lost the cup final," right? The other good thing was, at the time when we looked at it, it was like, right, this is right in the middle of this fixture congestion that we've got, and we're trying to win the league, and we're about to play Bedford, who we're probably going to lose to, right? And then it's a case of how do we use that to fuel us to go on. And honestly, again, the same as the Royston game at the beginning, we looked at that and went, like, it's Real Bedford. Let's use this, playing at the Kenny, enjoy the game, and use it as the next projection to go to the next bit, right? And again, the girls went, do you know what? We just lost. We ain't losing again. And the girls went out, boom, 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 for the rest of the season to go out and win it. So, at the time, I think we thought it was probably the wrong timing. But on reflection, looking back at the rest of the season, and I'm sure Myles will agree, is I think it was probably the right time, and it allowed us to push ourselves. So yeah.
Yeah. To add on to that, the game itself, I think we competed for the first 35 minutes. I really did. I thought we showed what we can bring to our game. We'll give a bit of insight. The couple of days before, we had a battle through for some injuries, so we were really looking at we got into a period of the season this season where we were losing players through injuries. Massive credit to the players. Some of them playing through really, really tough injuries, trying to manage it, trying to give what they got. We walked into the final with either people who had just returned or people who are still slightly injured and are trying to give us something in the game. And in those moments, it is slightly a little bit like, okay, how do we get through it? And then in the game, Ellie picked up an injury whilst in the game, and it was a very tough thing to manage. But I think the game itself, we competed for 35 minutes. Again, I'll always give credit to an opposition when I think they deserve it, and they showed their fitness levels were slightly above ours, and they could maintain the standard for longer than what we probably could. Had we been fully fit and training as normal, when you have quite a few players that are injured, you have to adapt your training sessions and kind of refocus of what you're doing, because you can't push too much. You don't want to pick up too many more injuries. So you have to adapt to it. If everyone was fit and we were raging to go, could we have competed a little bit more? Questions we could always ask and look back in hindsight, we will never know. But I think, credit to the ladies, they went out there and competed. And one of the biggest things that I would say I was proud of, and I know Fadi was, we spoke about it at the end of the game, was the attitude that we showed at the end of the game. You know, it's so easy to be on the back end of a scoreline like that, and you know, just go inside and get changed and be negative. But we're still very appreciative to all our fans that came out and supported us. You know, we spent time with them, we had conversations, and you know, it gives, as I said, Fadi and I a little bit more insight as to what it looks like to get to the next level. You know, credit to Real Beaufort, they won their league, they've got promoted again, and they've done it nearly being undefeated. I think they only lost one game, so they've shown us a little bit. Playing them is always going to be a positive for us because we can take notes and take view of what they've done and then go, okay, cool, maybe they did this well. We need to try and see if we can imitate that and add our own little style, our own little flavour to it, and make it better. So yeah, absolutely. I think credit to them. But yeah, I think we showed what we were about that game, and we were quite happy. Disappointed with the result, but you know, the performance, I wouldn't say that we were too upset about that.
And obviously, as a cup run, getting to the final, always got to enjoy that, right? That means the opportunity's always there. Speaking of getting to the finals, let's talk about the League Cup. So we won the League Cup at the A-Reed against Stevenage. There's the League Cup as well. Go on, Myles. Talk to us about that.
Do you want to talk about the actual cup, Myles, or are we just going to talk about the one that's in your hand? Do you want to talk about that?
Which one? Oh, this cup?
Yeah.
This is the League Cup. What do you want to talk about?
Where's? Yeah. Cool. Go.
Handles. You're asking.
Yeah, no. We'll talk about that later. Don't worry.
I'll talk about the handles in a minute. So I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the handles. In terms of the League Cup, I think we done. Was that what we aim to do? You know, we are one of the best teams, I would say, in the Eastern region. So the League Cup obviously includes teams from lower tiers and then our tier, our league from last season. So we've always expected to be in there. The run-ins in the League Cup, again, I think we had a decent run-in. It was quite comfortable until we got to the semi-final. Semi-final at home against Royston. Back again, we knew what we wanted to do. Having played them once, they beat us. Having played them again, we beat them. So this was kind of like, right, who's going to go and step into the final and between us? And it was a very tight game. And I say tight because I don't think anyone really scored. I think there's only one goal scored from open play. So you can see it was a very, very difficult game. Both teams were quite cagey. No one really wanted to concede. And therefore were teams a little bit more reserved than going forward. It was a bit tough like that. But one thing I've said, and I don't really say it very often, and I know he's going to smile when I say this, but I'll give Fadi a little bit of credit in that game because he works with our set pieces and he's, you know, to pick up, I think it was 2 set pieces in that game, and then I'm going to give her credit as well. T's intelligence of knowing how to press and when to press and taking the coaching advice of, you know, Fadi and Mikhail, who works as our attacking coaches, and really figured out the timers and when to press, and she worked and got that goal. So, you know, in that League Cup game, you know, that was really a massive win for us. And then to step into the final, well, it was Stevenage, and I think, as Fadi said about timing, I think the Stevenage game came at the perfect timing. You know, we had played them earlier on in the season, which I think both teams kind of went through it. We were a bit more fortunate of winning the 1-0. Then we played the FA Cup game. It was a 1-1 draw with the penalties. But again, they sat back really, really deep, let us have the ball. That really caught us by surprise. Because of the first game, we thought they were going to come out. They sat quite a little bit deeper, which made us a bit shocked about how to break them down. And I don't think we were going really aware about how to do that at that point. We still had to go through our coaching points and still trying to figure that out through training. And then we got to the third game where I think we knew how to break them down. But, you know, formationally and tactically, you know, I wouldn't say we got it wrong, but there was ways to improve on. And you know, we went with a certain thing. They sat deeper. And then, you know, we got to the League Cup final and we were prepared. Like, we were prepared in like no other. We sat down, we kind of realised, right, we know how they're going to come at us. How are we going to break them down? If you see conversation with myself, Francis and Fadi are having, it goes round and merry-go-round sometimes, trying to work out the best way. But it's a great feeling that we love to have because it's 3 or 4, including Danny and 5, including Mick, our coaches are really just sitting there trying to break down the best way, all wanting to know and come to the same goal of winning. So from my perspective, we really broke them down tactically. I felt like in the game, they didn't know how to handle us very early in the game. we switched the formation. I ain't going to go into it because we might use it again, so I'm not going to go into the details. But we switched up the formation, and I think they spent a long time trying to work out how we were playing. And by that time, we grew in confidence and went. And then once they finally figured us out, one of the biggest strengths that we've always had about this team is we have the ability to switch into something else very, very quickly. We have so many versatile players that can play multiple positions. What we've done this season is, as I said, we've created a pack, and in our pack we have different formations that we're going to play and the roles and responsibilities of those formations. And so when we want to switch, each player understands the role that they're going into and what is required of them. So it just gives us a little bit more insight into, all right, we're switching to this, and let's use Tash for an example. We'll understand what she's meant to do from the first formation or the first setup to the second formation because it's in the pack, and she's read that during the week. So it just allowed us to be a little bit more versatile and create that creativity that I feel like in the first two games or the last two games that we had played them, we didn't really have. We had a formation, we stuck to it, and we were trying to break them down from that way. But I think this time we actually went, no, we're going to do something different, and it created the opportunity of becoming double champions. Quick story about the handles. So we won the trophy 2 years ago, so not last season, season before. I'll put a long story short. I put the trophy in my car. I left it in my car for like a week while I was sitting there. I picked up the hand. It froze. It was very cold. I picked up the handle and the handle fell off. So there's no handles on the cup anymore, unfortunately. But that's my bad. I'll take that. It's in the house now. It's not in the car. It's in the house. It's not in the car.
Looking after it.
And Fadi, how was the actual day over at the area? Obviously, it was an absolutely stunning day. End of the game, you got the victory, you got the cup, you got the league winners' trophies as well. How was all of that whole experience?
I'll be honest with you. I think it was a relief, right? We've been working so hard throughout the entire season. I'm going to give you some insights. There's been, and it's not just once or twice. We're talking probably once a month. Everyone comes around to mine until 1, 2, sometimes 3 in the morning, talking tactics, doing stuff. How we're going to work this out, what we're going to do this month, what we're going to do that. So, like, there's been a lot of hard work by us as a coaching staff. And then when you look at the players playing 35, 36 games throughout the season, also working full-time jobs, some people with families, etc. So it's a case of it's been a long season, and it was more of a relief that look, now it's done. We've done our jobs. We've hit all of our targets of both finals, third round of the FA Cup, winning the league, getting promoted. Yeah, it was a relief. And then at the same time, for me, it's a case of obviously speaking to quite a lot of the Stevenage staff who I used to work with before, and being congratulated, and some of their fans coming up to me at the end of the thing saying that like it was very much well deserved, and we done well to do it. It's a nice feeling, because the way that I left that club, I didn't think was right. So it's nice to hear at the end of it, and it's, yeah, like I said, relief and nice to hear. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, there we go. That's the season. That's the cups. Now we've got to talk about the players. Obviously, we've got to give a shout out to Gabby Spillman. Recently, it's been announced that she will be signing for Palace, specifically single signing contract. Well, trying to get a contract.
Yeah.
Toward the end of this year, hopefully. But obviously, yeah, Fadi, she's been such a young, incredible talent. Like, this is it. That's the thing to remember as well, right? She's so much a future ahead of her.
Yeah. So look, Gabs came to us last season from Garston, scoring an abundance of goals, and in a league that for us was below her level, right? And when she came into us, there's still parts of her game that she needs to work on, which she's aware of. But what she done for us is she changed the dynamic of how we play, right? Her sheer pace it frightens teams, and it makes teams change the way that they're going to do stuff, which then allows us to keep the ball better or do something better or whatever it is, right? And in terms of how we're playing at that time. Now, what's really good for Gabs is, and what's really good for the club as well, is that she's come to us. She's improved, gotten better, done what she's needed to do at this level, and then gone on to push herself to get a pro contract. And that's come from being with us and being in our setup and doing what we needed to do, right? So I think it's credit to Gabs for pushing herself and doing the right things, but it's also credit to the club and to the staff, because what we've done is we've gotten a player, nurtured her, and pushed her on to do something else at such a young age, right? So yeah, when it comes to, I know you're going to get onto it later, trial lists and stuff like that, it's nice to see that this is something that we can do and help push girls on. We've never held Gabs back. She's come in to help us push and win the league, and she's done that. And from there, she's moving on to bigger and better things. And in football, you never know, right? This is a thing that me and Myles always say. If things work out, brilliant. If things don't work out, you never know. So yeah, that's how we look at things.
Myles?
Yeah. I remember 2 years ago, I got an email, a message to say, from Gabs' dad, Mark, I've got a daughter, but she wants to transition to playing adults football. I was a bit like, okay, send me her numbers, send me your thing. Saw the goals, I was like, whoa, scored a lot of goals again at youth football. Had a conversation with Mark about it. Kind of spoke about, she'll probably come in, feature a little bit in the reserves, might get a first team call up, and then saw Gabs play and went, yeah, she's got a special talent, Gabs as a person, lovely person, hard working, always willing to put the time in, able to have a conversation. I know she does a lot of stuff outside of football regarding mental health and support. Her family, a lovely, lovely family. Always great to have a conversation, always there to support and offer us help whenever we need it. So it was great to be a manager of Gab, seeing her progress over the time. She was a little bit quiet when she started. She's a little bit more open now, a little bit more confident. And that's what we want. And as Fadi said it, Gabs is 17, 18. She's got a bright future ahead of her. She wants to go and progress. And we will never be in the way of stopping that. She'll always have our support. She can always reach out and come back to us and ask us questions, and we'll always offer and help where we can. I'm just really, really proud of her. She scored some big goals for us in big games throughout the season, and she's really learned how to manage herself and improve herself. She built a great relationship with the players, the younger ones that are around her age mates, and the more senior players. She built great relationships with them. So really happy with Gabs, and I'm really, really looking forward to seeing her do her thing. And Fadi said, if whatever happens in the future, Gabs knows, and we had a conversation with her not too long ago, the door's always open for her, She made her first senior appearance in adult football as a Luton Town lady, as a Hatter. So for us, that door's always open to return. She'll always be a part of this title-winning season, and we'll always be grateful for the level and efforts that she put on into the game. So, really happy for her, really happy for her family, and just wish Gabs nothing but the best for the future, and always telling her to keep in touch.
Awesome. Yeah, I had a chat with Mark. He said basically the best part of her playing with Luton is obviously the age and experience that the team have that they can obviously lend to her. And speaking of someone that's got a lot of experience, let's talk about Tash Fensom. She had the most assists, the most goals, and most appearances all in the same season, and she is the only other person other than Owen that was at every single game for the entire season. Fadi, talk to us about Tash Fensom.
Look, I've coached Tash before, and Tash is a great player. She's one of those people that just puts her head down and gets the job done. If you ask something of her, she's going to do it. We had a conversation at the beginning of the season, and obviously Tash has been a striker for many years. But in the beginning of her playing career, she was actually a winger. Rapid pace, able to cross the ball, able to take players on, very good in 1v1s. And something that me and Myles looked at was, we've got a certain striker, and then can we push Tash out to do to the wing again? And it was a case of, obviously can she still do it, and etc. Yeah, I think she played one game, and I think she got 2 goals in that game, and it was like, yeah, Tash has still got it, regardless, right? And then we also had a conversation with her. She goes, "I'm blowing," but yeah, I'm really excited to do that. And it was a case of, look, we moved Tash around a little bit, but she never complained, she never moaned, she understood what her role and her task was in every game, like Myles was saying previously to other stuff. But she's just a pleasure to work with, and a great person and a great character. And if you look at the stats in the seasons, bar one season where she was injured, she's been the top goal scorer, or the second or third, in and around that, scoring 20 plus goals every season. So when we had the opportunity for her to come in, we didn't even think about it. So um, very, very proud of her, very happy for her. It's a shame that she didn't get the golden boot, but she was doing. Her mentality was, I don't actually care as long as we win. That was always what it was. So even in the game, I think when Farmer scored that little back heel, Tash had the chance to shoot at that point, and she gave it to Farmer to score. So yeah, she's still putting assists on the plate. She didn't really care about it. So yeah, no, it's really, really good to see, and I'm really happy for her.
Yeah, it kind of shows the all-round nature, right? Because she got,
Yeah.
I think, 15 assists as well to all of her
Yeah.
goals. So yeah, incredible. Myles,
Yeah.
Ellie, first season as captain. Talk to us about that.
Skip. Listen. Obviously, last season, just departed. Grateful that she returned, but just departed at the back end of last season, and it was a bit of a head scratcher for us. And I'll tell you why. It was a head scratcher because we felt like, yeah, we saw at the end of last season, but we were new management. You know, we were walking into this as a new season with fresh eyes, fresh heads, and it was kind of like, okay, a new captain. Everything was going to be a little bit new, and it was really sort of a no-brainer in the sense of, you know, Ellie has the respect of the dressing room, the respect of the coaches. One thing I know about Ellie is Ellie will give 100%, whether injured or not injured. She would do whatever the team asks her to do on and off the pitch. You know, a lot of the graphics, if not all the graphics that you see that goes on our social media is created by Ellie. And she does that while also doing her job. But on the pitch, we kind of knew Ellie has the respect. Ellie will give you 100%. And so it was kind of sort of a no-brainer to make Ellie as the captain this season. And what a captain she's been. You know, she's led flawlessly, you know, in times where we've needed her to do it, picking up goals when we needed to do it. Her constant communication to us as coaches as to what the feedback is and what the mood and what the aura is like in the dressing room at that time is key to us, you know. Sometimes you need that kind of person who's going to be on board with you. And, you know, we kept Ellie on board in our decision makings and stuff like that. And she's really worked with us this season in order to help us, you know, transition the season as best as possible. So Ellie off the pitch has been fantastic. And then on the pitch, you know, I think for years upon years upon years, you can I gave it earlier about our shout out to our defensive record, about how well it's been. And Ellie, among other players like Tarn and Fee, have been a part of that for a while, and you know, Ellie kind of being that leader of the back line has really helped keep that defensive record and then pop up with goals when we need her to do that. So she's done really, really well. We kind of challenged Ellie this season. Ellie's kind of floated between a right back position and a centre back position, and you know, I don't know if she'll say it herself, but she hasn't really been a right back for a while. But that's basically on the talent that she has as a person. You know, she's got another one that's got quite blistering pace, can go forward, can carry the ball into areas, and we try to use that as effective as possible. So I guess while dealing with being a captain for the first season and managing a team that, if you said pressure was on from the minute we stepped into the season, pressure was then added from the Royston game, and Ellie then had to somehow manage that pressure, but also manage the fact that she's playing in a new position, managing the fact that she had to, you know, liaise with us and sort out issues and do the graphics and everything like that. So a real leader and a real captain's performance from Ellie this season. You know, she's really, really stepped up and shown how much she cares about the club, and you know, we're very, very happy with everything that she's done. So Skip's done well. Skip's done really, really well. She deserves it.
Yeah, very proud of her as well.
Awesome. And then obviously, got to briefly mention Fee, the Maltese missile. International.
Is that what we're calling her?
Maltese
Yeah.
missile.
Okay, okay.
Maltese missile.
Maltese missile.
Yeah, Fadi. Obviously, how was she? You've obviously spoken to her. How did she deal with the call up? How incredibly
So
proud
I'll
she must
give you
feel.
a little insight on Fee, and Miles can correct you. My first game. This is when Rob was still here, etc., etc. we give like player nominations, etc. at the end of the game. And my player of the match was Fee, first game. And since then, Fee has always been, for me, a defensive type wing back more than a winger, right? So originally when we came in, she was really high up the pitch, but a lot of her crosses are from deeper sometimes. There was loads of things where we looked at her and we went, maybe we can drop her a little bit deeper, right? And this was something that me and Myles looked at when we took over. It was a case. Sorry, when we took over, it was a case of how can we use all of our players' strengths to the best of their ability. And Fee was one of our number one targets to try and push her to the next level, because of her sheer raw ability, regardless. And there's not a lot of good left-footed players that can whip a ball, cross a ball, free kicks, etc. She's good at quite a lot of things, right? And then when we had the opportunity to do that, it was great. And from there, she's just pushed herself on, and she's gone better and better and better every game. I think she's got quite a lot of nominations from girls in terms of player of the match at the end, or honourable mentions. She's got quite a few player of the matches. She's got assists in the game. She scored in the League Cup final. And, getting an international call up was inevitable, in my opinion. I think Malta are a great international country. And I think they benefit from having Fee in the team. She's able to play in both positions out wide to the left, and I think she's only going to go on and get better. Now playing in the National League against better players, better opposition, again still having international call ups. I think she's gonna go on and be even better next year.
Awesome. And I think the last player that we should probably mention is obviously the Golden Glove, Super Huds, Myles.
Hudsy, man. Listen, I think if you're going to win a league title, you're going to need to have a goalkeeper behind you who knows how to keep clean sheets. And one thing about Huds' game that I think stands out further than many other goalkeepers I've seen in this league is Huds is vocally aware, vocally strong, and can communicate with her backline and communicate with the rest of the team throughout the game. And I think being a person who's played defence my whole life as a player, you always love to have that goalkeeper that talks to you, a goalkeeper that communicates with you, that is clear and understanding as what they want. Huz will tell you when to get rid of it, and that communication only just allows you to be a little bit more effective because, you're not sure. When you're not sure in certain moments, to hear that, get it away, it makes that decision for you. It helps settle you, and you have that reassurance behind you. I think Huz has had a great season, and one of the reasons why I say that is because, yes, she's kept the clean sheets, but there was many times in games where Huz wasn't really being tested or being used. And it's a testament to her to understand that for 40, 50, 60 minutes, you may not face a shot. And then you have to pull out a big save in the 75th minute to keep us into a game when we're only 2-0 up. And those moments is what you want from your goalkeeper, that is going to keep that reassurance that allow us to progress on and win the league. To have that goalkeeper that's really going to settle and, do the defensive record and, really help and, push the saves when you need to do it. That's fantastic. So Huz has been fantastic for us this season, vocally, as a goalkeeper. I think if you ever want to watch anything or see anything, I think there's a highlight out there of Huz's double save in the League Cup final, where I think it was 0-0 at the time. Maybe we just gone 1-0. I can't remember the timings, but 0-0, 1-0, and Huz has made a save, gets back up, makes another save, and that's what Huz brings to the game. And that settling factor of the decision making of an experienced goalkeeper has been fantastic. Huz has battled injury this season. She won't hide that. She's played through a quite severe knee injury, but she's never ever let the team down in the sense of, if Huz says, if I've got two legs and I can play, I'm playing. If you need me to play, I'll play. Whatever you need me to do, I'll do. And that's a testament as to why we've walked away with the league. So, from the moment she walked through the door, we said we wanted a stronger goalkeeper, a keeper that's going to be there. We lost Amy Butler at the back end of last season. Leah Robinson, our other goalkeeper's coming through, younger but still progressing. And it's a great thing for her to learn of Huds. Huds shows so much of great leadership and a great example of how to be a goalkeeper of this tier and a tier above, and potentially even a tier above that. But just showing that experience to the younger goalkeepers to learn off and stuff like that. So Huds has been so effective for us this season. We're really grateful for her performances, and she deserves Golden Glove for the second year in a row. You know, she's done it last year at Bedford. She's done it this. She's topped it this year. She's topped it this year. Her record from last year at Bedford, but she's been fantastic, and you know we're very, very grateful for Huds' performances, and also the back line as well. That's worked with Huds as well, and after this, Danny and Francis, who have worked with the back line and the goalkeeper. Can't not shout out my coaches.
Shout out to them. Speaking of players, though, trials are starting. There are 3 open training sessions on June 8th, June 12th, and June 15th. Fadi, can you talk about more kind of what it is, what happens on this?
Yeah, so it's going to be something similar to last year. Our players will be back down as well. We'll try and integrate new players with our players, see how they gel, see how they do stuff, see if they enjoy the environment, and then we'll look at ability as well. So our big thing is characters before ability. It's something that we always look at. If the girls don't fit in with us, it doesn't matter how good they are, we won't bring them in, because our dressing room environment is very, very, very important. It's what's pushed us this season. It's what pushed us towards the end of last season, the season before when we first came in, and it's going to be the same for this season going into the National League, right? So that's the things that we're looking for. We've got a lot of interest, obviously, moving up into the National League. I've got a few connections that I'm obviously pushing out to as well. And look, it's a case of they need to come in and make us better, right? If they don't, then we've still got a very strong squad that can push on. And then at the same time, it's also pushing on our current squad to go, right, we know trials are there, we know open training sessions there, but then we can see that there's some good players there. I need to push on. And for us, that's what we want. We want that hunger, we want that fire, we want that, I want to be better than I was last year. I want to push myself, because at the end of the day, we're here to win stuff, right? So we're hoping that that's what it does, and then we'll take it from there.
And if you want to find out more, check out the Luton Ladies socials, and you'll find all the information about the trials on there. So next season, it's been quite notable, I would say, speaking to the players throughout the season, that there's been a real step up since probably kind of late Rob times. There's been a real step up in terms of professionalism, training, everything. That's only been further enhanced by both of yourselves. What are you going to do to continue to step things up, Myles?
Listen, so obviously I spoke about earlier on in the season about the step up we've had to do. One of the biggest things that we always do as coaches, we reflect upon ourselves, how we could be better, what we could have done to improve ourselves this season. There's a rule change next season, so this year we've been roll on, roll off. Next season there's no roll on, roll off. It's 5 from 5 or 7 from 5. We're still being worked out from the moment, but it's kind of like once you're off, you're off. So kind of into that professional step up of what we see in professional football. So it kind of gives us a little bit more on looking at players, the physical conditions, the mental side of the game. We have a great analysis team that are working really, really hard. Shaka, Shaquille and Zoe that have been keeping up with us, analysing games and our performances and opposition and team's performances. And so it's just realistically sitting down as a team and going, okay, how do we do what we do, but how do we make it better? What else can we do? What else do we need to do to elevate us to the next level? What we did this year has been stand up to get us to where we are, but we can't really rest upon what we've done to progress us to where we want to keep going to. So we have to look at ourselves and go, okay, how can we be better? We've got some plans in place. We've got some things that we're trying to figure out. Right now is the early in the works. Fadi and I are trying to walk through the logistics of how they can work, how we can make them stronger for us, how we can improve them. But actually, we've got some plans. So be excited. Obviously, we're working really, really hard behind the closed doors. And then when we're ready to go, it's going to be something different. I think this season was a shock to a lot of people. Before the season, we were training twice a week sometimes, and I think this year we added analysis into our programs. We added gym sessions into our programs. It's something else that we're going to look to continue, but it was also looking at how we can add more stuff, more strength and conditioning, more one-on-one work, more player reviews, more projects that we can put in place, and really trying to establish it in that way. And then one of our biggest projects that we've always tried to put a part of is our youth system, and we're always trying to look at how we can add our youth system to our project and how we can embed them into us. So that's something that we will look at improving and adding to our repertoire. So big things to come, lots of work to be put in, and we call it the off season, but it's never really off season. It's just behind the closed door, more full-time job. That's what we call
Full-time
it.
job, bro.
Full-time job on top of a full-time job. But we're just going to work and see how else we can add and put things into play from there.
Yeah, so if you needed me to say something else, I saw your little nod, Matt. Yeah, so our big focus, I think for next year is like Myles saying, is that youth development side. We are going to look at how we can adapt that slightly. There's other things that we've sat down and we've spoken about. We've got another meeting early next week that we're going to sort of thrash some stuff out before presentation evening, and then from there we'll build off it. But we've got a 5-year plan. We've got a project that we want to deliver, and this is obviously year 2, and from there we're gonna build off that.
I'm very excited to see what happens. Next season, obviously, as you say, we are going up to the 4th tier of women's football. What are your, shall we say, minimum and maximum goals for this next season?
Okay.
Go on, min and max is we're not getting relegated. That's the min and max of it all, right?
Sure.
We've worked extremely hard to get to where we are, and that's obviously the main goal, right? We haven't sat down and obviously gone through objectives like we did for this season, but yeah, that would be 100% the main goal, right? But I'll let Myles add on to that.
You kind of covered it in the sense of just staying, making sure that we settle. It's not so much of a negative thing. Listen, if we could go again and do a double, then there's a back-to-back promotions. You never know. Do you know what I mean? You never know how you start the season. You never know how you catch wind. I think our focus will always be about 1 year settling. Just get into the National League. Settle in there, try and remain in there, and then if you look at the next year or the year after or however many years after that, you want to then progress. But what we don't want to do is obviously work so hard to get there and then have to come back down. So, avoiding relegation will always be the main point. And then, if we're there and we've secured enough points by a certain time in the year, then it'll be like, let's sit down, let's review, let's see where else we want to now get to, let's see what the next targets are, how can we progress, how can we get to the next point, and just look at progression from there. So, yeah, avoiding relegation will always be the target, but I think it's from there building and into the next step and the next step after that.
And obviously, in the league we're moving into, there are a few notable teams in there. I think most notably would probably be Norwich, who I think are now, I think you mentioned earlier, Fadi, are basically professional footballers, fully integrated, full training all the time. We've also got Fulham as well, and then more local rivals, potentially MK Dons. Who, in your opinion, Fadi, do you think we are going to look out for next season?
No, I'll be honest. Norwich have been battling for top spot for the last 3 years. So we're aware that that's what they're pushing on to, making your integration with the men set up and going full time for next season. Obviously shows their desires. I think they only missed out by a few points this year to Real Bedford, who obviously only lost 1 game, drew quite a few, but only lost 1 game. So you know that they're going to be up there and pushing again, right? Chatham have a great manager. I know Keith very well. He's part of the England setup as well for the youth levels. So yeah, he's very good in there as well. So look, we're aware of the teams that are in and around us. Can we push on and do the right things? Yeah, of course we can, and that is always going to be our aim and our goal, right? But we're looking at, as Myles said, let's get in. Let's do the right things. Let's recruit the right players. Let's do our setup, do everything, and then we'll look at the next steps after that. But we're aware of the teams. We know what's going on, but we focus on ourselves. We believe in what we've got. We believe in our staff. We believe in the players that we have now. And obviously, if we recruit the right players, if we bring them in, then we're bringing them in for a reason, right? Um, so yeah, I'm quietly confident. But yeah, we'll have to see how the season goes.
And that is the end of the pod. Is there anything else you guys would like to talk about at this point? Let's start with you, Myles.
Listen, I think I've done it. I said it before, but I'll say it again. Thank you to yourself, Matt. Thank you to you and your team. Obviously, thank you to. We've got a presentation coming up, so I'm just getting my thank you speeches practiced. Thank you to yourselves. Thank you to you and the team. Thank you to everybody that's supported us. Everybody that's liked a picture on Instagram, that's commented on a picture, that's liked a picture on X, has commented on our pictures or anything. Anyone that's just watched Owen do those fantastic live tweets and just keeping up to date with us. We're really grateful. We say this all the time. We love what we're doing, but we couldn't do it without having the support. Having our supporters is like a 12th player, a 12th man. And so it really adds to us, hearing you guys chant from the sides and, all the chants that you're coming up with. It makes us feel, really, really special and gives us that little 1%. And, Fadi and I have always spoken about the 1% that we want to add to our game. Can we have those 1%ers that make us want to do more, make us push us a little bit more, make us add a little bit more atmosphere to what we're trying to do? And so, thank you to yourselves. Obviously, thank you to, as I said, our board. They've worked really, really tirelessly this last season, making sure that we're supported, making sure that we've got the right things to go and progress on and do what we want to do. Thank you to the players. It's not easy working with, and a lot of them have never experienced in having two first team managers in a team. It's quite difficult sometimes. Fadi will agree with you. We are individuals as well, but it's how we put them aside and work as a team. And the players have really worked with us well. They've listened to us at times, but they've worked with us really, really well. They've listened to us and they've put the graft in. I can't fault them enough for not wanting to push it. We said to everybody they're going to have a key role, and you've seen players like you said, your Tashes, your Huds, that have come into this squad this season has been fantastic. You have players who have been here for a couple of years, like your Shys and Tees, who have come in and maintained it, and then you've got your players that have been here for years upon years and have been wanting to get this promotion and work their butts off to get it. So, like your Leahs, your Jesses, your Ellie and Tan. So, and then our youth players. You're looking at Nancy, Shanice, who's had another great season, Amber, who's had a great season, Gabs, who's had a great season, and then to your younger ones like your Carlas and Caitlins, who popped in the last game and have popped up in goals and have great goal records, 3 games, 3 goals, 4 games, 2 goals, whatever it is, coming up there and popping up in games and showing really that we have a great future coming up for this club. And so while we're also thinking about now, we've thought about the promotion, we with Mark and the youth team, they are trying to build a future for the club to be quite sustainable and to keep the progress. So, thank you to all those players. And then I can't go without saying thank you to the staff. Francis has come in this season. Some people may call him signing of the season. What a person he's been, and he's come in and really added a defensive layer. He really gets myself thinking, gets Fadi thinking. He really does add a lot of layer and a lot of detail. He knows what he's talking about, and he's a fantastic coach. Mika, young 21, comes into it, could still play the game, but also, again, adds a younger factor to it of he's hungry, he wants to win. He improves and adds that intensity level to our training sessions. He's a fantastic goalkeeper, and he helps add that to our training sessions. And then Danny works tirelessly with our goalkeepers behind the scenes, making sure things are running on our day-to-day operations, and he's been fantastic in doing that. And then to the man on the screen himself, Fadi, coming in and working alongside myself. Very, as I said, very difficult sometimes. I know I'm not the easiest person to work with all the time, but he works tirelessly with me. He is as probably dedicated as I am to wanting to see this club succeed, and and so they've done that. So just really grateful for everybody. I would say watch us for next season. You know, we're only going to be bigger, we're only going to be better next season. We're only going to strive on for greatness, and we're going to keep pushing. So, you know, big thank you to everybody. Big thank you to yourselves again, Matt, and your team. And, you know, looking forward to seeing everyone at presentation. Drinks are on Friday, Fadi, and then we'll go from there.
I knew you were going to do this. Listen, I've got nothing more to say to that. That's a great ending, great speech, and yeah, thank you to everyone as well. So,
Okay. In that case, thank you guys for coming on.